Welcome to the third episode of the Freaky Fauna Files podcast. We're your hosts,
the chicken,
and the egg, where you'll never know which one comes first.
Hi, I'm the chicken, and I will be first today. This week, we're visiting Australia, the Down Under, where we have just 2 freaky fauna to discuss instead of our typical 3. There are a lot of animals that we could have done for this episode, so look forward to an Australia part 2 eventually.
Today, we're going to be discussing emus, a flightless bird so vicious an official war was declared against them, and kangaroos, nature's professional boxers. These animals have some wicked stories behind them, so stay tuned for the danger zone.
As always, we will post images of all of the fauna and references we included on the episode on our socials. You can find us on most podcast streaming services and socials at Freaky Fauna Files. Okay, to kick it off, we do have a fun fact. So both animals that we are covering today, both the kangaroo and the emu, can be seen featured on the coat of arms of Australia. And we did not do that.
We did not plan
purpose.
That.
No.
She chose her animal, I chose mine. Lo and behold,
it had a lot of significance.
It did. Yeah. That's a cool fun fact.
So yeah, that's something to kind of kickstart our podcast for today. First, the emus. For emus, to start off, we're going to do the taxonomy and etymology. So the scientific name is Dromaeus novenhollandiae. Dromaeus comes from the Greek word meaning racer, which makes sense. And Novae Hollandiae is the Latin term for New Holland. So the name roughly translates to fast-footed New Hollander, which is kind of goofy.
What does that mean? New Hollander?
Yeah, I guess I have no idea.
We're just speed racer?
Yes, which makes sense because of how fast they go. They're fast. But the etymology of how emu actually came about is debated on. It's generally thought to have come from the Arabic word for large bird. But really, yeah, emu was just there. They're just called emus.
You look at that scary-looking bird and you're like,
emu. Yeah.
Emu.
Perhaps that could be it. The emu was first seen by Europeans off of the western coast of Australia in 1696 during an expedition led by a Dutch captain named Willem de Vlaming. Right? Vlaming?
Cool name.
Yeah. It's almost like flaming. I wonder if that's the actual pronunciation.
A flying Dutchman.
Anyways, Dutch captain, he was searching for the crew of a ship that had actually been missing for 2 years, which I also thought was a cool fact. So that's how the emus were discovered, was this captain was just looking for...
Did the emus have something to do with the missing ship?
Oh, that would be a real cool story. I could not find anything, but that would be awesome. Moving forward to habitat, emus live in various locations across Australia, both inland and coastal. The most common areas that emus will roam are going to be the savanna woodland and the sclerophyll forest. They predominantly travel in pairs, and they can form large flocks, but this is atypical and only arises due to a common need to move somewhere new for like food, or if they need more shelter, or if they're under attack. Wink, wink, wink. Hint, hint, hint. We'll get into that a little later.
Danger zone!
Danger zone! So that's a little bit about the habitat. Is they're basically all over Australia, and they stick together. For biology, we have that the cassowary is the emu's closest relative, which makes sense. They both look like
demon birds.
Yes, dinosaur demon birds that could absolutely stomp you in an instant, and not a good type of stomp, and a bad type of stomp. It is the second tallest bird in the world, the first being the ostrich.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They can reach heights of 59 to 75 inches, or 150 to 190 centimeters. They can reach lengths, and length is measured from the bill to the tail. They have lengths of 55 to 65 inches and 139 to 164 centimeters. They weigh 40 to 132 pounds, which is 18 to 60 kilograms, And of course, just like all of the other animals that we have talked about, the females are going to be typically larger than the males, and they have a wider rump. So they're thick. thick. So the emu, they are flightless birds, and their wings are thought to be vestigial traits. And vestigial traits are traits that have become functionless in the course of evolution. Kind of like the human pinky toe.
Or
I think
the ink
that's one of
sac
them.
of our colossal squid.
Ooh, yes, good throwback. Yeah, the ink sac of the colossal squid. No idea what that's used for still.
Not a blanket. In
Yes,
the ark,
yeah, not a
learned.
smoke screen at all. So even though they cannot use their wings for flight, they can still be seen flapping their wings as they run. They don't really know why they do this. It looks very goofy, but it is thought to be a way for them to stabilize themselves as they are running so fast. Because they kind of look weird. They look unproportional. So I feel like holding their wings out perpendicularly would help. Probably. In fact, they can run so fast, so fucking fast, that they can run 30 miles per hour.
Dang.
So, yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah, that is 48 kilometers per hour. And isn't that how fast the leopard seal
Yeah, because
swam?
I made the neighborhood joke.
Yeah, and I
30
made the
miles per
speeding
hour in a
zones joke. Yeah, okay, same speed.
Wow.
But yeah, imagine going 30 miles per hour and having the emu catch up to you.
I can't run that fast.
Like, I can't run that
I don't
fast.
think humans can
Well,
run
like,
that fast.
you could be on, like, a little scooter, you could be driving around.
Oh
What if you're on a
God.
bicycle? Like, it could get you if you're on a bike.
Can't outrun the emu.
You cannot. They run really fast, and this is due to they have special pelvic limb musculature. They have 3 toes, a reduced number of foot bones and muscles, and their gastrocnemius, which is a calf, their calf, it has 4 bellies instead of 3. And I believe humans have 2. Just like the 2 main bellies.
So this bird is just ripped.
Yeah. Ripped. It just has massive calf muscles and are able to go very fast for very long. The strides are massive. We've got 3.3 feet or 100 centimeters when walking, and 9 feet or 275 centimeters when at a full gallop. Excuse me?
Gallop.
Yeah, 9 feet. 9 feet.
That's
Can
a
you
lot.
imagine
That's
that
a
is
stride?
That's easily covering a full-grown man. Easily covering Shaq. Like, if Shaq was laying on the ground, this bird could long jump him.
Wow.
Yeah, that's insane. If he had full speed, which I don't know if I would want to stay there on the ground having an emu come at me full speed. Full speed. They are generally defenseless, minus their crazy-ass long claws. So, their toe and claw equals about 6 inches
No.
in length. Yeah.
Ew.
It's as big as a lottle.
Oh my god. Little lotto fingers.
Little lottle fingers. With 6 inches and 15 centimeters. They will kick their opponents, lacerate them with their claws, and yeah, we'll get more into that with the danger zone, but regardless, I don't know how defenseless these birds can be considered. They run 30 miles per hour and have super sharp claws, so I would not want to get in their way. They do have a small bill, so their bill they will use to peck you, which is kind of funny to see. Not funny to be a part of. But their bill is mainly adapted for grazing. They have excellent eyesight and hearing, and this aids them in detecting any threats. Wink, wink. This also comes into play a little later.
Oh no.
And I also found that their eyes are protected by the nictitating membranes, like sharks. So you know how like, they have that extra eyelid?
Yeah.
So emus have them as well to like protect them.
What? Why?
I guess because they don't want their big
Dusty
eyes to get
desert?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe while they're running really fast, they don't want shit to get into
Little
their
windshield
eyes.
wipers?
That's probably it. Moving forward, they too, like the leopard seal, have a very creepy prehistoric vocalization, and we will put a clip of that in here in just a second. But this sound, this vocalization, is actually made through an inflatable throat pouch.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a little throat pouch. You know how like frogs have a little
Yeah.
throat pouch? I wonder if that's kind of similar.
Interesting.
But this throat pouch will create various booms, and the pitch can actually be varied depending on the bird and the size of its aperture. And there are two main types of sounds. You get booming, which is mainly done by females, and this is part of a courtship ritual. And then we have with males, they do most of the grunting, and the grunting is used primarily as a threat to other males. They're trying to protect themselves. It is important to note that both sexes can perform the sounds, both sounds, either or. And typically they do so whenever they are encountering a strange object. They'll be like, what the fuck? And be like, oh,
What is that?
Just like make all their weird sounds. But yeah, so this sound that you're about to hear can be heard up to 1.2 miles away or 2 kilometers away. So here is the sound of an emu.
Sounded like you're blowing bubbles underwater.
Oh, yeah, like the... Oh, wait. Okay, maybe not that. Maybe. I mean, I still can't create this. I don't know, but I know exactly what sound you're talking about. You try to recreate it.
I'm good, thanks.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Like a horse when they like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They sound like something I don't want to interact with. That is for sure. But a lot of people do interact with them. All right. Other than the sound, they have a great ability to maintain their body temperature. And their body temperature is typically held between 50 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 10 to 30 degrees Celsius.
That seems cold.
Yeah. I mean, 86. Yeah, I mean, we're 90. We're 97, 98 most of the time, right? Some 96.
Oh, I guess it is 98.
So they are able to do this thanks to their lungs. And their lungs, they actually work as a massive evaporative cooler. And they also have multifolded nasal passages that can help them cool off whenever it's really hot, too. So they have a few things helping them out. And they can actually maintain that body temperature in environments as low as 23 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 5 degrees Celsius and as high as 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow. I guess
that's
Australia
quite a range.
will get up there.
Yeah,
113.
They have to be able to adapt to the environment because, yeah, you're right, Australia does vary a lot between the different seasons, even diurnally. So, moving forward, emus forage during the day and they'll rest in the evenings. And they rest for about 7 hours each day, but they never actually deep sleep. Well, I mean, they do, but not the way that we do. So they don't deep sleep and they're just like out for hours, right? They'll go into a slumber and they'll do it for a max amount of time of 90 minutes. Yeah. But they only sleep for about 90 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And they'll do that on and off for 7 hours.
So they just take little naps all day, every day?
Yeah, essentially. Little power naps. Because they got to stay alert, right? People are hunting them.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So they do eat native plant and insect species, such as wheat, acacia, casuarina, grasses, beetles, cockroaches, ladybirds, etc. And what they feed on greatly varies depending on their location and the season. They don't have many predators. In fact, most of them are extinct. They do have a few, with the dingo being the main one left. Despite dingoes, most of the emu deaths actually are thought to occur due to other natural conditions and not being hunted. So they're basically the predators. They are not getting hunted. During mating, females will court the males using their booming. Their plumage will actually darken and the skin around their eyes and beak will turn that brilliant turquoise blue.
Oh.
So that's what we saw in that video, and if you look up the video, you'll see it as well. But you'll see that the dark skin is really like almost like an iridescent looking blue. It's very pretty. The male's plumage stays the same, but their skin does change to that turquoise blue. Whenever they are successful in their mating, they'll lay a clutch of about 5 to 15 super large and green. I didn't know they were green.
Oh, fun.
Eggs.
That's a lot.
They are laid in a nest that is made by the males, which is also cool.
Human behavior.
And the eggs, they are around 5 by 3 inches and can weigh about 1 to 1.5 pounds. So they're pretty big eggs. It's a solid egg. Like if you get an egg, you're going to be happy with it. It's going to last for a bit. The emus have pretty stable populations in the wild with between 625,000 to 725,000.
That is an ungodly amount of emus.
Yeah, in Australia, dude. Like
That's
not
horrifying.
even worldwide.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Australia's pretty big.
It is pretty
still.
big. It is big, but that's still a massive amount, especially when you're looking at, some of the other animals that we talked about. I feel like the numbers weren't nearly that high. So they're good. They're safe. I don't think they're going extinct anytime soon.
Great.
To end it, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mythology, and I'm going to keep it nice, short, and sweet for it, but there are a lot of things about the emu in mythology or in Australian culture. So I just kind of picked one story, and that story is The Blind Man and the Emu. And this is a folk tale that consists of a blind man who lived at a camp in the bush with his wife. Every day, his wife would go out and look for emu eggs to give to her husband. How nice, right? But upon arriving home, the blind man would be unhappy, ungrateful, with what his wife had brought him and would complain that they were too small. So one day, she follows the tracks of a large emu in hopes of pleasing her husband and stumbles across a bird sitting on a nest of eggs. Excited with the prospect of bringing home a large egg to her husband, she attempted to steal an egg by throwing stones at the emu. Good idea.
That's your first mistake.
Yeah, she had a few, right? You see those tracks? I don't know if I follow them.
True.
Anywho, it got pissed and killed her, naturally.
Naturally.
It ends by saying that the blind man grew restless, awaiting the eggs from his wife, so he was searching around and ended up eating some berries that magically gave him his sight back.
Oh, nice.
I know.
You don't need your emu eggs anymore.
Nope. But with this newfound sight, he searches for his wife, finds the emu and his wife's body, and then kills the emu. So with this, the emu is said to forever rest in the night sky, and the Aborigines will refer to its constellation when actually harvesting emu eggs.
So he killed the emu and just banished it to the sky forever?
Yeah, it's just in the sky forever. But it's actually really cool if you look into that constellation, because as the seasons go, it'll like move, and they have one for, the emu nesting, what's happening for it, and they really will harvest eggs based off of it. So it's super interesting, but that's not the main point of the podcast today. So that's all that I have about the emus, so I will pass it on.
All right, that was cool. Your demon bird is quite large. I guess I didn't realize that emus were the same-ish size as ostriches. I also want to kick off with some fun facts about the kangaroo. The official Australian logo is the golden kangaroo.
Oh, cool.
The $1 coin has 5 kangaroos on it,
Oof.
so we're getting some representation. And the Australian National Rugby League, emphasis on league, team is called the Kangaroos, while the Australian National Rugby Union team is called the Wallabies.
So what's the difference?
Between a kangaroo and a wallaby, or a league and a union?
The league and the union, because
Okay,
you emphasized the league.
I did. I googled that for you because I did not know either. The difference between a league and a union, it's the same sport, they're still playing rugby. It just depends on the size of the team, how many points are awarded for different acts, and different rules. So it's like college football versus the NFL type thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense. Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the kangaroo taxonomy. They belong to the Macropodidae family, which is Latin for Bigfoot. I guess you can tell why. They have 2 gigantic feet that I will get into. They are marsupials, which is an animal that does not develop in a placenta, but rather nurses in a pouch. Examples of marsupials are kangaroos, wallabies, possums, koalas, and wombats, among others. Did you know possums and koalas have pouches?
I actually did not know that possums and koalas. Well, I feel like possums I kind of knew, but koalas
I knew that they were
I did not.
Marsupials.
I knew marsupials.
I knew that word and possums went together, but I guess I didn't know what a marsupial meant.
We didn't put the whole picture together of what it means to be a marsupial.
The name kangaroo came from Australian Aborigine language, so some English explorers had come across the continent and they had never seen such an animal. And when they approached a native, the legend goes that he replied to the man, "Gangaroo," which they thought translated to, "I don't know, I don't understand you, like, what are you asking?" So he pointed to the animal and he said, "Gangaroo," and they went with it. This myth has since been debunked. Kangaroo was in fact the name that the Aboriginal people gave the animal, and we ran with it. I don't know why we don't call them gangaroos. I think that's even cooler.
That would be awesome.
Gangaroos, gang.
Especially like if there's a bunch of them, would it be a gang of gangaroos?
Well, okay, so that's even better. I'll get into it later, so I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. But they're called a mob. So imagine, right, a mob of kangaroos.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Can we just call it gangaroo from now on instead of kangaroo?
Gangaroo. So I don't really want to go into the taxonomy because there are 4 distinct species of kangaroo, and each has their own genus and species. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you a bunch of Latin names. I could not skip over some really cool names, though. The red kangaroo, its species name is Rufus.
Oh, yes.
Cute. And the eastern gray kangaroo is called, I believe it's called the gigantuous, but I want to call it the gigantuous because that's cooler.
Yeah.
They are not the largest, though, so they don't earn that title. Sorry.
Well, what a false...
I know.
What a false name. Why would they lie like that?
Gigantuous. The cousins to the kangaroos are called the wallabies. They are much smaller. Kangaroos can get about 7 feet tall, while wallabies are only like 4 feet tall. So
cute.
They're cute. And somewhere in the middle, I don't know if it's due to inbreeding or it's just a subspecies, but they're called the wallaroo.
I bet it's inbreeding.
Yeah, so we have a kangaroo, a wallaroo, and a wallaby, and that's in order of size.
Oof.
Okay, so our kangaroos are found in the continent of Australia as well as Papua New Guinea. They typically live in the woods, grasslands, savannas, forests, and scrubs. Like I said, a group of kangaroos called a mob, so how can we not just have our little gangster, like, fight club, you know?
The gangaroos.
The gangaroos.
The first rule of Fight Club.
Never talk about the fight club. They are also called, besides mobs, they're courts or troops. And they typically have about 10 or more kangaroos in each mob. This was too good not to dive into. So to begin biology, let's talk about their gestation, which is the period of time at which a mother is pregnant with a baby inside them, not in their pouch.
Okay.
So mothers are only pregnant for 31 to 36 days.
Ooh, that's not a long time.
Which comparable to a human fetus would be about a 7-week-old baby. After about 31 to 36 days, they are born vaginally, and they're the size of a lima bean.
Cute!
Like, your little thumb. I have a picture that I'm looking at, and it's... Literally, it looks like a blood clot with arms.
Or like a full leech.
Yes, a bright red leech. And what happens is that they're born vaginally, and the only thing that is developed is their front little limbs. And they use their 4 limbs to climb from the vagina into the pouch, Well, they will nurse at a teat for 9 months.
Excuse me?
Isn't that insane?
It's like something out of Alien.
You birthed your baby and its sole goal was to climb from your vagina up your stomach and just suckle onto your breast.
I don't know about that one.
But remember, it's this big and it's a leech. Just inchworming its way.
Why doesn't the mom... I guess the mom can't see it, right? Like, how can she...
I don't know.
Why doesn't she help?
Small.
What if she thinks it's a fly?
She just flicks it off.
Yeah, what if she, like,
my baby.
hits it? I guess she has to know. I bet the hormones in her are
well, I'm sure she knew she gave birth. It probably didn't feel like much, but...
I was about to say, how can it? It's like the size of a lima bean.
They can actually get pregnant right after giving birth to their lima bean.
It's like kidney stones.
One can be... like suckling on a teat in her pouch, and she can be pregnant with another. So she can be a little factory at this point.
Yeah, just pumping them out.
Interesting is that the mother can produce different types of milk depending on the stage of her newborns. So a newborn will be suckling on one, and then you'll have like a fully developed joey after 9 months. That's what you're used to seeing. It just looks like a small kangaroo at that point. We'll be suckling on a different one. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, so they can alter what's in each teat to best fit their baby. Well, that's cool. That would be like, I want this baby to have Mountain Dew, and I want this baby to have Dr. Pepper.
That teat's for your brother.
Not
for you.
What happens if they get them mixed up? I guess
I don't know.
they
Imagine
don't.
feeding that little leech the
like, how do they know?
Nutrient
Yeah,
dense.
what would happen at that? Like, would it just
swell up and pop?
Yeah, it would be pop. I don't know.
Another cool thing about kangaroo pregnancy is that in times of drought or food scarcity, the mother can enter what's called embryonic diapause, where the blastocyst, which is the beginning stages of fertilization, it will not attach to the uterine wall, but instead will stay closer to the ovary in what I would imagine would be near the fallopian tubes, and go into a period of dormancy until a significant amount of rain has fallen, and then it triggers the release.
Okay.
It's like, I guess you know how they say women's periods are synced up with the moon?
Yeah.
Well, your baby's synced up to the rain. So
all right.
Cool?
So the mama kangaroo or kangaroo, basically she was like, it's too dry. I'm going to freeze my baby here. That would be amazing. Imagine if we had that capability. If we were like, this is not the time.
Not the right time.
Not the time. I'm going to hold off. That would be like cryo-freezing eggs.
In your body. That's
But like
cool.
in your body naturally. That's cool. You'd have no need to spend copious amounts of money to do that. Because you can just do it yourself. Just freeze your own pregnancy with embryonic diapause.
So, fully developed kangaroos are about 5 to 8 feet, which is 1.5 to 2.5 meters. And they can weigh anywhere from 40 to 200 pounds, which is 18 to 90 kilograms.
Wow, so the kangaroo and the emu are just about the same size, too. That's crazy.
Yes.
I think the kangaroo is a little taller with
Yeah.
that 8 feet. And a little bit heavier, which makes sense because they're shripped.
They're Did you combine shredded and ripped?
I did.
Shripped.
Shripped. They're shripped.
The little cousin wallabies are only about 1.5 to 3.5 feet tall, and that's half a meter to 1 meter. And they only weigh about 25 to 50 pounds, which is 10 to 20 kilograms. So they're more like a large dog, I guess.
That would be so cute.
4 feet is actually way bigger than a dog.
I wonder if people there have wallabies as pets.
Or
here, I wonder if we have wallabies as pets here, because, I mean, in Texas.
We have a weird exotic pets.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
For locomotion, they are the only large mammal that uses 2 legs and a hopping stance. They are also seen kind of launching their back legs and using their front legs as sort of like a landing platform, kind of like a rabbit would, but for their main locomotion, they have a hopping on 2 legs.
Okay.
They have a casual speed of 12 to 16 miles per hour.
Casual.
But listen to this. Fastest speed is 43 miles per hour.
What?
43 miles per hour. That's
43.
1.5 times faster than your leopard seal, and your emu.
Ugh.
And
What do you do? Like, what do
There's
you
nothing you can do. I have a story in the danger zone.
43 miles per hour. You can't even outrun it in a electric scooter.
Nope. Actually, like I said, I have a story in the danger zone. The guy gets pushed off his motorcycle.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We gotta save that. We gotta save it. Stay tuned.
They have a special evolutionary muscle that is connected to their fourth toe that they use for an extra powerful push-off.
Cool. It's like their launch.
They are strictly herbivores, so they eat grass, shrubs, and some fungi.
Then why are they so big?
I don't know. Most species are nocturnal since it's so hot during the Australian days. So they sleep during the day and they forage in the midnight to like early morning hours.
So you can catch them on a midnight walk.
Yes.
In the woods.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
All right.
I thought this was really cool. I had to include it. They have a very similar diet and digestion as cattle, right?
Ooh.
But cattle produces an ungodly amount of methane.
Yep.
Produces to the greenhouse gases.
I just saw an article about that today, actually.
Was it bad?
Oh, it always is. Yeah.
Instead, kangaroos do not produce a lick of any sort of gas.
Oh, cool.
But scientists believe that they have a special bacteria that converts gas into acetate, which they use as an extra energy source.
So then why don't we do a fecal transplant
Dude,
to
right?
our cows
That's actually
and like give them
a legit thing.
I know, it's a legit solution. Why don't we take that bacteria and put it into our feed or something? You could put it into the cow feed, and so all of our farms, can be a little bit less
Gassy.
damaging. Yeah, a little less methane-y.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had the same as cattle, but not the bad consequences from it. That's cool.
So kangaroos are notorious for their fight stances. They typically fight over a female or like food and water rights. Basically, two males will approach each other and one will adopt a, quote, high standing posture to assert dominance. Yeah, post up. And like I said, they can be up to 8 feet. So they really straighten out and the fight begins. It's very ritualized, so they have certain stances that they enter, and the main one is quite literally a headlock. So,
What?
Yeah, the larger one will take the smaller one into a headlock, and they will balance back on their tail and allow the use of their hind legs to kick their opponent.
What the
So
heck?
instead of just punching this dude while he's in a headlock, you're using your feet, and you're just boop, 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 boop.
Oh, you're just fast kicking, probably because they have their claws too, right?
Ooh,
and that's
yeah.
doing laceration damage on top of, just the blunt force damage of it all. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that would be scary to see.
Yeah. Like I said, they don't really fight, or they're only really fighting against other males. In terms of predators, the dingo, which you mentioned, is a basal lineage of a dog. It looks like a wild dog that roams Australia.
Yeah, they're cool looking. I've seen them at a couple of zoos, but not many. Not many.
So dingoes, foxes, feral cats, and dogs may go after kangaroos, but they don't really have any natural predators that use them as a food source. They are actually decent swimmers, so they use waterways to escape their predators.
That's scary too.
Wait, dude. So they've been known to use their front forearms to hold the head of their opponent down to drown them.
Oh, I've seen videos of this, I think.
I've got some in the danger zone, quite literally drowning a dog, a hunting dog.
No.
Yeah.
No. And they're just like, wait, and you can't do anything? Because if they're decent swimmers,
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
they're better than us.
Exactly. And he's just gonna absolutely annihilate you in a fight, so good luck with that.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into the danger zone for them.
The only thing I have left is the mythology. According to Australian Aboriginal culture, they are a symbol of strength, agility, and resilience, obvious. They are known to survive and adapt in harsh conditions, And they are associated with the hunter and gathering lifestyle. And in history, their meat and skin were used for food and clothing.
Cool.
It is not anymore.
I don't think I've ever seen any kangaroo clothing or food. I'm glad that's not a thing anymore. That would be weird.
The kangaroo is often depicted as a cunning and mischievous character, that's pretty fitting, who outsmarts its enemies.
That's terrifying.
It has a trickster persona and is the reflection of their aboriginals' belief in power of wit and intelligence.
So, wit, intelligence, strength, agility, and resilience.
Yes.
Okay.
That's your kangaroo. Your gangaroo right there.
Your kangaroo. Well, that's badass.
So that is the kangaroo. A little bit on the wallaby as well. I think they're pretty powerful animals. I'm excited to enter the danger zone. I'm excited to hear about the emus. I can't imagine what sort of danger an emu could cause, to be honest. But I'm excited to see what you got for us.
Well, we will talk about it. Welcome to the danger zone!
The danger zone!
Woo! All right, now for my favorite part of the episode, the danger zone. So to begin, we're going to talk about the emus. So, with the emus, I have a few things that I want to talk about with them. The first couple I'm going to brush over a little bit because I have something that I really want to talk about. So, the first thing that I found an article where the headline is actually UK emus attack drunk driver who fled after allegedly ramming storefront.
Dang. UK emus?
Yeah, I don't even know. Apparently, well, I'll explain that. I'll explain that. But my favorite part, I think, of the headline is the allegedly ramming into the storefront. The picture, the truck is in the storefront. Like, there is no...
It was alleged!
There's no... I mean, I don't know what's alleged about it. Maybe the driver was alleged, but he was seen fleeing the car. So, I'm just gonna get into it. So, the story for this one was a drunk driver fled the scene after running his truck into a storefront. And there was this chef at a nearby hotel named Dean Wade, and he actually saw the incident occur from beginning to end. So he, unlike the other people who ran away, he actually began to pursue the driver. Very noble, right? Noble man.
Wow,
Good for you, Wade. So Wade realized that the driver was about to enter an emu sanctuary.
No!
Yes. So this driver, and honestly, like, I feel kind of bad for him, but instant karma got him fast.
Oh.
So this man was, like, running through the forest and everything, and then he hops a fence into this emu sanctuary. And Wade, he realized it, and so he actually tried to warn the driver. He was like, hey, man.
You don't understand.
Yeah, he literally yelled that. He was like, hey, man, like, that is an emu sanctuary.
He was like, so what?
He was like, that bird's gonna get you. The driver did not listen, so the drunk did not heed the chef's warnings, and this 6-foot-tall emu, with her babies...
Oh, no, not the babies.
...started to violently peck and jab the man in both the head and the gut.
Uh-oh.
And Wade saw this whole thing. He saw this whole thing happening. He was like, I told you so, right? But according to Wade, the emu was stabbing his body all over before the man finally hopped the fence to run to a nearby river where he was actually apprehended. So in this situation, we have a hero emu.
They said, not on my watch.
They said, not on my watch. But imagine that story.
Dude.
Yeah.
Out of all the things he could have ran into in his pursuit.
Out of all of the sanctuaries that you could have gone into. Because, you know, if you run into, like, a big cat sanctuary, they're kind of still in cages.
I was about to say, you can't just run into one.
No, but if you're in an emu sanctuary, they're free roaming. They're free roaming. It's going to come right up at you. So, I don't recall seeing any pictures of the drunk driver, nor do I have any names other than Dean Wade, but I do have the link if you guys are interested in that. you can always just reach out to us for that. So my last short one is going to be about Karen. Karen, the viral emu. I don't know if you guys have heard about Karen or have seen videos of Karen, but if you have not, it is absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. They are posted by the name Useless Farms. And sometimes you can even find those videos covered by Dodo. And I don't know if you've ever watched Dodo videos, but they are the cutest things. Mm-hmm. They're really awesome. So Karen is an absolute menace. She is an emu, and the owner is incredible with handling this emu.
She has like a sixth sense.
Yes, yes. In her videos, you can often see Karen trying to attack her owner by making the grunts and the booms and just pecking at her. And it just really is funny to see the owner straight up stiff arm this dinosaur without a second thought. Like, the casualness of it, to me, after like reading some of the things about it, I was like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know
what you're up against?
Yeah, do you know what your hand is on? It's like the throat of a prehistoric critter that outlived its predators. Like, keep that in mind for a second. But yeah, I recommend watching them if you have not, just to kind of see what an emu is like, and yeah, hopefully deter you from buying one.
Yeah, what do you need an emu for?
I don't know. I get the sanctuary.
Eggs.
And there's a lot of economic value with the emu that I'm not really touching on because this is a biology and danger zone. So if you're interested, they also have a lot of economic value. So those are my short stories I have about the emu. The main one that I want to get into, and I was absolutely floored when I found this out. So apparently in Australia, there is a thing called the Great Emu War. Yeah, you heard me. I said Great Emu War. All right? This is the war when Australia went to war with flightless birds and lost. And lost. So I first saw this and I thought I thought it was a gag. Like, I was like, there's no way there's an actual war with the bird.
Yeah, maybe like a casual, ongoing conflict with these pests.
Yeah, right. Like wild hogs that we have here in Texas, right? Like, they're a nuisance, they're whatever, but I didn't think that there would be an actual war. And lo and behold, I was very wrong. So the Emu War is a very real thing. And as a general synopsis, in Australia, after the First World War, they were hurting. They had a whole bunch of casualties that hit their population really hard. And a lot of the soldiers returned home wounded with PTSD and were unable to find work. Because of this, the government encouraged mass farming and gave all of those soldiers who were struggling, or those who were interested, 10-acre plots of land. All right. So the soil sucked and it rarely rained, so it was a huge bust. The only thing that really grew on these plots of land was wheat. And these new wheat farms looked like a buffet.
Delicious.
To our little emus.
I bet.
Yes. So the emus, with a new food source, plentiful food source, they had a population boom. And that became a huge crisis because they were considered vermin. So they did not want to have all of these emus around because the emus would feed on the wheat or graze on the wheat, and they would also destroy sections of fence that would keep other vermin out, like rabbits or anything else that could potentially feed off of that wheat. So that was really difficult for a lot of those farmers, and the government decided that they needed to do something to counter this. So naturally, population is going up. What are you going to do? You're going to trim it down. So the Australian government decided to enact a mass culling, or I guess try to enact a mass culling on the emus. So they decided to go to war with the emus and trim down all of their numbers. The government thought that they could just send in soldiers, and
the fact that they enlisted the army instead of just like local farmers is so bizarre to me. Like, why is that your first plan of action?
It shows what they were doing at that time too. They're like, let's send our military force to trim bird numbers down. Emu populations. So they ended up sending the army in, and they quickly realized that it was not going to be as easy as they thought it was. They had hoped to get thousands and thousands of emus, but I believe they only ended up killing around 300 birds or more. Some sources had different numbers of how many were actually killed, but all of them agreed with the fact that they were not even a fraction of what they wanted to get.
That's insane. 300 out of what, 20,000 emus?
Yeah, something crazy. Like, they were very, very unsuccessful in this war, and ultimately had to call it because they were just wasting all sorts of resources, and I believe they even ran out of ammunition at one point. So they were like, fuck it, we're done.
You're done.
The emus were free to be a nuisance from there on out. So that is the Emu War, where Australia lost. And you can actually find all this information on a whole bunch of different sources. It's very fun to dive into. In fact, my boss, she was born and she lived in Australia for a little bit. Yeah, and I asked her if she had to learn about it, and she didn't even have a clue about it.
It's not taught in schools?
Well, I feel like it has to be taught in school, right? It's one of their wars.
Yeah.
If someone from Australia is listening to this, can you please confirm or deny whether or not you had to test over this? Because imagine
it really
if it's
as peaceful as just shooting up some birds and calling it a truce.
Yes, yeah, because there were a couple of things that I found about this that were a little sketchy. The biggest one, kind of doubting the fact that there were no human casualties.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you look all over, it says that no humans were actually harmed, and that it was only the emus that were injured. But I'm skeptical, right? Because how are you going to go to war against these emus and not like get close enough to get hurt by one of them? Because they're fast. So like if you miss, it's coming after you. You know, it's not going to run away. It's going to run towards.
True.
Who would have thought that this weird looking freaky bird would have so much surrounding it? And I even left out a whole bunch of stuff, at least with the biology and the danger zone. So there's a lot of videos of emus chasing people around and stuff. So you could just go on YouTube.
Nightmare
and look
fuel.
That up. It is nightmare fuel. Especially listening to that vocal.
Oh
man. Could not be me. So that's really all that I have right now for the emus, and I will pass it back over for the last little bit of the danger zone.
All right, the kangaroo has stepped up for the challenge.
All right.
We have entered the danger zone, and I want to start off with 2 deaths. There are only supposedly 2 recorded deaths from the kangaroo. So the late summer of 1936, William Cruikshank, he was 38, he ended up dying as a result of an attack of a kangaroo. In an attempt to rescue his 2 dogs from the kangaroo, was attacked by the animal. So the animal was fighting against the 2 dogs that had chased him, and he attempted to save them. William suffered a broken jaw and received several extensive head injuries, which he was taken to the hospital for, and he eventually died.
I feel like having a broken jaw, that sucks in and of itself. The healing process for it is miserable. Like, you gotta sit with your jaw wired for quite some time, only on a liquid diet.
There was very little information about that. I found that in the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper, and it was posted August 16th, 1936.
Oh, yeah, nice. So you found a newspaper article with
I did,
it?
yeah.
Okay, all right, go off.
So the only other death happened, we're recording in 2024, so it happened 2 years ago. In 2022, a 77-year-old man was killed by his pet kangaroo in Redmond, Western Australia.
Be careful what you keep as a pet, people.
I do want to say you have to have a license in Australia to keep a kangaroo, so this was most likely an illegal exotic pet. It does not help his situation because his body was found dead, I'm assuming from a fight with the kangaroo that he had had. The kangaroo was guarding his body and preventing paramedics from reaching him.
Aww.
Yeah. This was about a 4.5 foot tall, 120-pound kangaroo.
Wow.
The man most likely died from his injuries from grappling with the kangaroo, as they do have such a powerful punch. And keep in mind, this guy was 77 years old. So he ended up dying on site because the paramedics were prevented from reaching him. His younger son did file for the kangaroo to be put down, to be euthanized for killing his father. So
yeah, because I mean, he probably doesn't want to take care of that
I
kangaroo.
don't want to inherit your pet that just killed you.
Yeah, well, and it probably wouldn't do well in the wild because it was a pet.
So those are the only 2 recorded deaths by a kangaroo.
Which is surprising.
I know.
I feel like there's a lot more that we don't know about. Maybe they're covering up kangaroo and emu deaths. Maybe that's
could be
it.
right.
Yeah,
they don't want you to know how dangerous Australia truly is. But there was a website, I'll have to link it because it just had like tens, if not hundreds, of kangaroo encounters that got dangerous. So I picked out a few. I'm just going to read them. They're pretty fun. It's a bad word to choose, but
I feel like that's selective.
All right, so in Victoria in 2009, 49-year-old Chris Rickard was walking his property with his blue heeler named Rocky when a wild kangaroo stumbled upon their path. Rocky chased after the kangaroo, and they were led into a shallow pond.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you know where this is going. The kangaroo held the dog underwater and attempted to drown it. Chris caught up and attempted to save his dog, where he had to take on the 5-foot-tall kangaroo. He received a large gash on his forehead and several deep cuts in his abdomen and his chest. And he was only able to successfully free the dog from the grips of the kangaroo by elbowing the roo in the throat.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So nobody died, not the dog, not the man, not the kangaroo. But it was a rough encounter, to say the least.
Well, and you say 5 foot, and I feel like that's really easy for people listening to be like, whatever.
I could take that.
I could take that, but you gotta keep it in perspective that's a 5.5 foot monster.
They're muscle.
They're all muscle.
Trained
like
to fight.
That's it, and it's in the water, right?
Yeah.
Like they are known for drowning things.
Yeah, literally. This was almost premeditated.
Yeah, right. It's like he led Rocky into it on purpose.
Yeah.
I feel for Chris though, because I feel like if Nina, my healer, if she was brought into the water,
You would do anything.
I would, yeah.
Including taking on
I would also take on a 5.5 foot
a kangaroo that's as tall as you are.
Yeah, literally my height. I'd be duking it out with it to
Save your dog.
To save the dog. So good for him. I'm glad that everybody ended up okay with that one.
Our next story is in Queensland, also 2009.
Oh.
So 2-year-old Susan Hutchins was attacked by a wallaby, so a little bit more her size.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's terrible. We're not laughing at it.
So Susan was out with her mother, Tamar Hutchins, and they were feeding the horses when a wallaby held the child's head in its mouth while repeatedly kicking it with its hind legs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The child was eventually released and the wallaby hopped away.
So it was just like, pop, 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 pop. I'm done.
Just needed to get that out. Screw that toddler.
He used it like a kicking bag, or like a
It really
punching
did.
bag. It was like, I'm out.
Isn't that awful?
That's horrible.
Holding the child in the mouth's awful.
Yeah, I think that would be the most traumatizing part. Like, getting kicked isn't, I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as getting kicked with your head trapped in the mouth of a beast.
Yeah. No. Terrifying.
No. And Beak too?
I know too.
Hopefully she doesn't remember that. Poor Susan.
Same place, same year, Queensland 2009.
Okay, remind me not to go to Queensland.
Don't time travel either.
Yeah.
94-year-old Phyllis Johnson was attacked by a kangaroo, but saved when someone pepper sprayed the kangaroo.
That's smart.
Similar story, her son requested the roo to be caught and euthanized.
Okay, well, I don't think that one's as fair.
I don't know either. I mean, we don't know what Phyllis was up to. Maybe she's 94, fine. But we don't know what she was doing.
Fine. Yeah, she could have been throwing stones at the roo.
She could have been
Who
taunting
knows?
my man.
Yeah. Well, and the kangaroo, was gone. He was pepper sprayed and he left.
I know. Why'd you have to hunt him down and kill him?
Yeah. Well, did you find if they were? Or was it just...
Were what?
The son just requested for it to be caught and euthanized? Did you see if it actually was?
I don't know.
No.
I'm sure that they did.
I'm sure they could.
God forbid that roo is on the loose still.
Yeah, who knows?
Next one is in New South Wales, 1996. So a 13-year-old boy named Stephen Shorten was playing golf on a public course when he hit the ball into the woods.
Okay.
That's on him. Okay,
that is on him.
Already.
Maybe have a better shot.
Really. He went to retrieve it, and he was attacked by a 5-foot-tall kangaroo. He received several blows and scratches to the face.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I don't really know how he was freed. Maybe they just broke apart and the roo hopped off. But his father, Rodney Shorten, sued the golf club for $750,000.
He's like, I'm going to get my money from this.
Obviously, the golf course was like, that's not our fault.
Yeah.
And they refused. And he was only awarded the case after it was taken to the Australian Supreme Court.
Why would it be taken all the way up to the Supreme Court?
I'm sure that man made a scene. He threw a fit.
Yeah. But what is he supposed to do? It's not the golf course's fault.
I know. I don't know.
A kangaroo just so happened to be in the woods when your son went to go collect the golf ball.
Like you said, be a better shot.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence of that. You never... It's like going into the pond and...
Getting bit by an alligator.
Yeah, getting bit by an alligator when you're trying to retrieve your ball. Are you going to sue the golf course? Actually,
No.
I feel like you could sue the golf course
could,
a little bit more on that
Okay,
one.
maybe we're a little bit more understanding now.
Okay, yeah. Either way, well, and it was his dad, right? His dad was probably scared.
Yeah.
So I get that. But, man, Supreme Court?
I know. Really? Supreme Court?
That's crazy.
13-year-old Steven was nicknamed Skippy after that.
Okay.
Skippy is the main character of the 1968 TV series called Skippy. It was about a boy and his pet, kangaroo Joey. So he got a cool nickname out of it.
Hopefully he liked that and it was an endearing nickname and not a
traumatizing
not
reminder.
Be haha, you got beat up.
You got beat up
by a roo. By a kangaroo.
Kangaroo.
You got ganged up, man.
You really did. Let's see. So, Brian O'Donnell was 74. This is a motorcycle story. He was riding his motorcycle across his own land on the Australian state of Victoria.
Just cruising around on his property.
When a kangaroo caught up to him and measured 7 feet tall. So, I feel like if you're that tall, you can definitely hit speeds of 40 miles per hour.
If not more, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure he knew the kangaroo was trailing him. It's loud, so, he said he was knocked over his motorcycle. The kangaroo, quote, had his top paws right around my back. We were almost headbutting each other. I kept punching him until he let me go, and the kangaroo jumped away 49 feet. I don't know what 49 feet necessarily means, but he basically wrestled with a kangaroo for his life until it let him go and it hopped away.
Could you imagine just almost hugging a kangaroo and just going head to head,
beating this?
Bam!
Yeah.
Bam! There's no way our skulls can go neck to neck. Or, our skulls or our necks can handle that.
No, probably not.
I get whiplash just, stopping too fast, I can't imagine just getting swamped by a kangaroo. And then jumping away 49 feet. That means he was just
whatever.
Bye. He disengaged.
That was a waste of my time.
He disengaged.
I did want to end on a positive note. We have a hero, A local neighborhood kangaroo named Lulu saved the life of a young boy by alerting the family that he had fallen unconscious after being hit by a branch.
Whoa.
The kangaroo led the family down the road to the boy where he was taken to the hospital and survived.
So, what do they mean by local neighborhood kangaroo?
You're just like, oh yeah, Lulu, she just don't bother her. She's just a sweetheart.
Is that like the stray cat, but the stray roo? You know?
Stray kangaroo. I mean, I guess if you're living in Australia and those things are native, they might be around. They might be the neighborhood kangaroo.
They probably are. Well, that's cool that Lulu alerted the family. Was she just like,
oh no.
Was she just like grunting
Pointed
to them?
with her little hand.
Yeah. Or did she like flex on the way there, you know? Like flex up like the just do it.
She's over
there. That way.
All right, that's all I got for the Danger Zone. Thank you for joining us. I feel like we had some good stories this time.
Yeah.
Maybe not as deadly as Antarctica, which is not a bad thing, right? But we have
at least these two.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we'll have the Australia part 2, which will...
Australia's definitely known for wanting to kill you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and even though we didn't have many death stories today, you can still take something from it. Mm-hmm. They're still dangerous. You still don't want to jump into an emu's sanctuary. You don't want to walk into the woods to pick up your golf ball.
No, don't do that.
You just...
Do not enter hand-to-hand combat with a kangaroo.
Or headbutt a kangaroo and have it leap away. No. Yeah, none of that. None of that. All right. Well, thanks for sticking around as we explored the great continent of Australia. Hopefully you enjoyed the trip down under, where we met 2 freaky deakies, the emu and the kangaroo. If you have any questions, comments, or have any freaky fauna that you want us to cover, you can send us a message on Insta or send us an email at info@freakyfaunafiles.com. And we are always looking for our listeners to send in stories. Like I said, if you have a grandfather that fought in the Emu War,
we want to hear about it.
Yeah, we want to know. We want to know what we cannot find. So please, please reach out.
Join us for episode 4 as we uncover those with peculiar defense mechanisms. Ooh. Some creatures have freaky means of protecting themselves.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Remember, it's best to stay out of the danger zone and in the safe zone.
Stay freaky.